Welcome to the In My Opinion Show with Ronald Berry Robinson and friends, seen on the internet 24 hours, 7 days a week. To view, please go to Facebook or YouTube, and on the search field, type in capital letters RBRIMO. I want to introduce our talented co-hosts to our millions of viewers worldwide. We have Mrs. Jackie Williams.
Hello.
Hello. We have Mr. Henry Hatter.
Hi, Ron, and welcome, Jackie.
Thank you.
Welcome all to the In My Opinion Show. Let's talk about same-sex marriage, called Defense of the Marriage Act. The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled they don't care what the Bible states, the religious practitioners think, or that segment of society that abhors same-sex marriage. The Supreme Court's mandate is to interpret the law and the Constitution of the United States of America and its principles, in this case, the Eighth Amendment. In my opinion, I think that this decision by the High Court was a gutsy call and a righteous one. People need to get a life of their own and stop trying to decide for others who they should have a relationship with or marry, whether they are two men or two women. You cannot legislate love. It's about time this nation moved on and got out of people's bedrooms and romances. Question. Should the legality, there's two questions here. Should the legality of same-sex marriage be decided by the 50 states and territories, or should the U.S. government decide, especially since the U.S. Supreme Court has already ruled favorably by its decision? Jackie, what are your thoughts?
I guess I'm torn because I believe in the traditional marriage of a man and a woman, and I understand that there is feelings that go on and people want to be able to take their relationship further, but I stand on the biblical grounds that God intended for a marriage to be between a man and a woman, so I am against the ruling. However, I respect people's relationships, but my personal opinion is that I'm against it.
Okay. Well, as I've stated before here, I'm a pragmatist. Okay. I'm not an atheist. Okay. I don't believe the Bible. I don't believe in Adam and Eve. I don't believe in immaculate conception. I don't believe in this thing that idiot George Bush come up with. What was that? Anyway, Mr. Hatter, what is your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I am ambivalent on this as well. First of all, I'm going to support Jackie's contention to begin with. Now, I believe and firmly believe in the traditional role of marriage between a man and a woman. They can conceive. Nature believes in that too, right? So, a woman and a woman cannot conceive. A man and a man cannot conceive. So nature paired it in its great wisdom of creating something new, something different, but always with the ability to create. But for a long time in this country, we knew we were moving toward this cliff where we would see the Defense of the Marriage Act disappear. It's been going for years. First in Connecticut and then in Arizona and all of those places that have adopted. They have been cast out of the courts, but again, brought back again over and over. And the rest of the country began to kind of chime in on this tendency or trend. And besides, this was forecasted because so many of the other industrialized worlds have already adopted it. You go to Europe, France and
Canada.
Scandinavia, Canada, all of those have adopted it. Americans lag behind. And we're a worldwide culture. So what goes on in the world, we're likely to blend in changing our behavior. And, you asked the question, well, what should we do? Should it be the United States federal courts decide this issue, the outcome of it? Or should it be the several states, the 38 states that has to ratify it, 3/4 of the states that have to ratify the act to make it the law of the land? So I would have favored the 38 states doing it because you get more people weighing in on the issue so it gets permanence to it. If you don't get that 38 states, you don't have a permanent, we're not ready for it at that moment. But it may be some other state and time we could get better ready and get ready to make sure that what we decide is to last for a long time. We don't want stuff moving up and down. We want to know what direction we're going, and we want to know that we've all had fair input to it. So now that the courts have ruled, it's a non-issue. So, but it's going to come out both ways eventually.
Well, I believe in the in that for those people that believe in the traditional marriage, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, but I also believe in that that same-sex marriages and gays, lesbians, homosexuals, transgenders, they're all protected by the Constitution. Okay, we can't have one segment over here, all right, that's protected, and then another segment over here that's not protected. Okay, you can't, and I've mentioned this several times on our shows, you can't legislate love, all right, and who you want to be with. Okay, you just can't do it. Okay, and people are throwing all of these assumed things into the mix. All right, that common sense would tell most people that, hey, look, I'm not going to use these people because that's like
isolating.
You know what I mean? Exactly. But same-sex partners, they know that they can't reproduce. Okay, whether it's two women or two men. All right, unless the man gets a surrogate, or the woman gets somebody, and whatever they do, to have children. They already know this from the beginning. Okay, and why people spend so much time, on this?
I think because our nation was founded under the principles of God.
Yeah.
So you have to go back to the beginning. So, our money, in God we trust. So a lot of our foundation and principles came from biblical. So now what we've done, like you said, Mr. Hatter, we've moved away from the biblical principles and we went into other things, what everybody else was doing, worldly principles. So that's where all of the rules and foundation come from, is because we were on biblical principles. But now we're pulling away from those, and now we're changing. Rules are changing. People are meeting and they're changing. Like you said, you can get married this month. Next month you can't get married. This month is valid. Next month is not valid. I would like to see us stand still, and wherever we're going to go, just go there so we can deal with it. And also I would like to, that was a very good point, to have the states decide, because that is more people weighing in versus a few people getting together and weighing in their, legal opinions, versus people being able to speak and be heard on both sides.
And Ron, may I just say that listening to your comments, democracies tend to overreach because it's got this universal concept of inalienable rights and the rights of all people and stuff like that. So in order to fulfill these dogmas, they do overreach. And sometimes this is both good and bad. It's, in this case, we know that people cannot conceive of the same sex. That may be a negative. The other, like Ron says, you cannot legislate love. But I have to go back to Gladys Knight and say, what's love got to do with it?
Gladys, are you listening?
So with, and you could see that democracies have tried to change the world, particularly American democracy, by inclusion. We don't always do the right thing, but too much inclusion would be, to me, a devastating thing and would bring down the end to this democracy. You got to have some rules, some dogmas, some strong and rigid rules that hold us together. And some of those have to be corporate rules.
Well, also, too, I know there's 38 states that has to ratify this, but in that instance, I wish it wasn't, because states has a tendency to drag their feet. All right. Now, the highest court in the land has said, "Hey, look, this is the way it is, and this is the way it's going to be." And in my opinion, I would prefer, you know what I mean, if it were possible, the U.S., the federal government say, "Hey, look, I don't care about them 38 states. We made a decision, you know what I mean, okay? And get your shit in order, all right?"
The beginning of the end.
Well, but the beginning of the end has been talked about ever since the beginning of civilization. You know what I mean? All right? And, and there are those out there that says, we're going to hell, and, and there's those that are out there saying that we're going to heaven, and then there's those that says, we're not going to either one of those places.
But what I meant, Ron, by the beginning of the end, states believe that they have state rights. Under the Constitution, we're a nation of laws. Mm-hmm. And the federal government, when they trample on those, you're likely to get resistance that's not intended.
But federal
democracy
supersedes states' rights. All right?
Only where it's delegated. But state rights, you want to maintain as far as possible a stable and sound government that people will respect and that they will follow. But anytime you get it rocking and reeling out of control, we're likely to face consequences that we don't intend to have.
Well, that's a possibility.
But I agree with you that when the federal government rules, and we're going to talk about another situation later on, where we were glad the federal government took over.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Especially during,
But in this case, it's just a quiescent argument between the people in house. Doesn't affect anybody else. We're arguing for rules that ought to occur between man and woman in the United States within its boundaries, no matter what the rest of the world does. And we're trying to also keep our stability here.
But we can't always be Johnny come lately, if you will. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You see, I mean, there's millions of same-sex couples. All right. They've spent years together with each other. All right. They've accumulated things. All right, material things and families and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All right, and I'm so delighted that that the Supreme Court ruled the way they did. All right, because you got same-sex partners that they're dying or that have died. Okay, and due to all of the paperwork and this law and that law, they cannot receive any of those benefits. All right? And I think that's wrong. All right?
All of that has to yet be decided. But what you're talking about, same-sex marriages, mm-hmm. and the fall of the Defense of Marriage Act, is now history. It is the law of the land. Those other things have to be now worked into the process.
Mm-hmm, sure.
They have to be decided yet. And
they said that's going to be a big battle. They said because even though they made it legal, they're still fighting because they don't want to still. They said they would have like the same benefits, but they don't want them to be able to not have to pay. What is it? The tax, the state tax, when, you know, and that's what you were talking about. Yeah, they still said that that's going to be a big battle.
Exactly.
In the end, it will be. We will have parity.
Well, let's hope so. Let's hope so, because
Those people are better. Generally, the homosexuals are better educated and better positioned than the average member of the population.
Is that right?
Yes. Homosexuals. Lots of them in government and private practice and schools and everywhere. I read that someplace. I can't give you the source of my argument there, but I did read it.
You know, and it's no different than, you know, I guess I'm getting off topic slightly, but it's no different, in my opinion, than, you know, this controversy going on with the Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts and so forth. All right. Now, there's been Scout leaders forever that have been, that have been gay. All right. A lot of Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts
that may have been gay. We have no proof. We have no evidence.
Exactly. But
so you can't.
But if you listen
something on the air and pass it on as,
you can't pass it on as fact. You know what I mean? Because there's really no proof. But I think that's wrong. You know, that's wrong too. Okay?
Yeah, I think they got an unfair tag because they made it seem like because you're a homosexual that you would bother the boys or you would bother the girls. Well, that's not necessarily a fact. We know that. Mm-hmm. It's people that are upright and married, straight,
exactly,
who's bothering kids. So yeah, that's an unfair tag.
And,
that's a good point.
And there's so many pedophiles out there. Yes. All you got to do for our millions of viewers is go online and see for yourself. You probably got a dozen of them in your neighborhood.
Right.
All right? I mean, you see all them red spots all over. I mean, so that's something we can't get away from.
But Ron, here's something. May I just say this before I forget it? The thing that bothers me most about this, and now it's a law of the land, and I'm going to live by the law of the land. I'm going to respect the law. But the thing that I'm still concerned about, and yet this may not, and the proof may yet be out on this, the facts, that people who engage in homosexuality can transmit diseases that could inundate the whole population race through AIDS. AIDS is a good example of that. And if that is due to homosexuality, I still have concerns about that, because I'm not saying that that's factual and that this is truth in every case, but we have to look at more data. There has to be more coming forth so we can make judgment on that. But still, the law of the land will be the law of the land. We may be creating another problem that we may have to deal with when we do this. That's what I'm saying.
Well, that's.
But you
the jury's still out.
You win this wrong because the law is now the law of the land. Mm-hmm. Thanks to John Robb. And you sound just like a Republican.
No, I can't.
You said I believe in and that's what they believe in.
Yeah.
Very fundamentally.
We might have that one similarity.
Oh, he's recruiting.
No, thank you.
You're recruiting, buddy.
No, you see, because I can't live with either platform. I think that there's just too much of demand for one platform that you can't live with.
Yeah.
So you have to pick and choose. You have to weigh out the options. You have to, and this is what I'm pleased to hear that from you, because a lot of people don't know that many minorities share the same beliefs as the traditional Republican Party. Not to make this a political argument, but there's a thought that everybody is in the same bag if you are minority, particularly Black American. But
Right.
I'm sure that much of the audience would love to hear that because they themselves believe in the same thing.
Well, for our listening viewers out there, if you have some concerns or you want to refute what we're saying, please give us an email at, in my opinion, rbr@att.net. That's in my opinion, rbr@att.net. This is Ronald Berry Robinson saying for the In My Opinion show. Until next time, stay focused.